Welcome back, everybody, to What Do You Know with Nick and Devin. I am Devin.
And I'm Nick.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Nick.
Yes, how can I help you?
Sorry, that popped, everybody. Nick.
Thank you.
If you had to guess how many nuclear weapon accidents there have been in the U.S. since 1950, how many would you say?
How many nuclear weapons accidents there have been in the U.S. since the 1950s?
Yeah. We'll narrow it, 1950 to 1980.
I hope not a lot. I'm going to go with, just because I feel like you're going to talk about one, yeah. I'm going to go with one. And hoping that that's true.
Price is Right.
Yeah, because also, like, anything over 5 seems like too many.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm going with.
Okay, so 1 to 5.
1 to 5, yeah.
Sure.
Just like a general, ballpark.
Sure.
Why do you feel like it's going to be like 212?
Not that many. Not that many. There have been officially 32 recognized incidents from 1950 to 1980 by the U.S. Department of Defense.
And not just like nuclear, like energy waste, anything like that, like nuclear weapons incidents.
Nuclear weapon accidents, yeah. Not necessarily 32 nuclear explosions that have gone off, but accidents.
I feel like accidents is like in quotes. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't quite feel right.
I actually think they say incidents.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, unofficially, the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, or DTRA, bumped up that number to the hundreds.
Oh, my God.
For those of you who don't know, the DTRA, in brief, is a defense agency and combat support agency within the DoD, Department of Defense, for countering WMDs, weapons of mass destruction.
That's
a lot of acronyms when you talk about the military.
Truly. I feel like there's like always like overlap ones and just like, what the fuck?
Oh, the DTRA is part of the DoD to stop WMDs.
Yeah. That's a full sentence.
It is.
That's a grammatically correct full sentence. Horrifying.
So we I'll jump into the titular question before I ask any more.
Okay.
What do you know about the Mars Bluff incident? Calling it an incident.
The Mars Bluff incident.
Mars Bluff incident.
I feel like it didn't take place on Mars.
It didn't.
Nothing.
I
know what a bluff is.
That's good. What's a bluff?
It's like a cliff.
Yeah.
Done.
Perfect.
You get it.
I wanted you to get some, I got some knowledge.
I like that you called my bluff.
Oh.
Hey. That's the kind of humor you can be expecting on this podcast. All right.
Lock it up. We're done. You don't know much, but we're going to get into it. We'll talk about it. But first, I kind of want to introduce a term, broken arrow.
Okay.
So these incidents that I've been talking about are referred to as broken arrow incidents. Now, this is a specific category within military jargon, I'll say.
Sure.
That involve nuclear weapons, warheads, or components that do not create a risk of nuclear war. So these accidents can include accidental or unexplained nuclear explosion.
Unexplained.
Non-nuclear detonation or burning of a nuclear weapon.
Okay.
Radioactive contamination. Loss in transit of nuclear asset with or without its carrying vehicle.
Lost in transit?
Jettisoning of a nuclear weapon or nuclear component. And finally, public hazard, actual or implied. I'm a little confused about that one. So we're just going to...
Or implied.
We're just going to brush over that one.
Oh, I like that that's the one you're brushing over. The one that has the most impact to us as people.
There's also a 1996 film that stars John Travolta and Christian Slater of the same name, but we're not talking about that right now.
That's what I mean. This is like when they do an audit of the spending of the Defense Department, and they're like, "There's like $8 billion unaccounted for," and you're just like, What?
Where?
How can you can't do that? Wild.
So, like, Broken Arrow is a category that I kind of described. There are several other types of categories that are varying degrees of danger.
Okay.
I don't remember them all off the top of my head, but, like, the specific Mars Bluff incident is listed under a Broken Arrow incident.
Got it.
And that's what we're going to be focusing on, one of these broken arrows. And for that, we're going to transport ourselves to Mars Bluff, South Carolina in the year 1958.
That's us transporting.
If you've ever seen Wayne's World, the end scene,
Yeah.
I won't spoil it, but that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
So it was March 11th, 1958,
Okay.
and everything was on track to be a normal Tuesday.
Is that how South Carolinians talk?
I think so.
Okay.
I should look that up. Mm-hmm. Hold on. I wasn't that far off.
Yeah. I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. I wasn't that far off with my accent. After some research, I've declared that I wasn't that far off
Sure.
from a South Carolina accent. I guess my typical Southern accent is South Carolinian.
Do it again for me.
Where was I? Everything was on track to be a normal Tuesday. No, that wasn't the same accent at all either.
I feel like you're doing more like the belt. I think you're doing like that Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia. I think you're doing more Georgia.
Yeah.
Whereas South Carolina is more...
It's got to melt out of your mouth like molasses.
Yeah. It feels like you're doing like it's Louisiana... like
that's probably
Cajun
just a
mixed with Georgia, because it's like the long vowel, but it's also like crick, and you know what I mean, like a little more hick.
You know what? We'll find out what type of accent I do throughout this. It'll be
I
fun.
hope it switches.
It probably will. I have a terrible problem with switching between accents, especially after a couple drinks.
And then like after each one, you'll just like put ding, and it'll be like Texas.
Okay, so back to the Mars Bluff incident. It's a normal Tuesday, right? Wrong. At 4:34 p.m. local time, a U.S. Air Force Boeing B-47 ELM Stratojet took off from Hunter Air Force Base near Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah.
Now, for those of you who don't know planes, a B-47 is a long-range strategic bomber that was built as a nuclear bomber to strike targets within the Soviet Union. Ooh. It had enough range to go from the U.S. to the Soviet Union. It has since been retired. Their retirement is unrelated to this incident. Just newer technology has been invented.
Unrelated.
This accident did happen at the end of the lifespan of the B-47. But yeah, it has been since replaced by the B-52s,
sure,
Rock Lobster, and all
Once
that.
you said B-52, I was like, this son of a bitch. Amazing.
Now that we know what the B-47 is, this particular B-47 was supposed to fly to North Africa with a pit stop in the UK as part of Operation Snow Flurry. This operation was a data collection operation where they would do mock bomb drops to track the accuracy of these drops.
Oh, okay.
So they would fly from America to the UK, do their test, go to North Africa to land at some Air Force there, base there. Now, this particular aircraft was in fact carrying nuclear weapons. I believe for transport. It never really was clear as to why.
Sure.
But it just said in case nuclear war starts with the Soviet Union, you got one on you.
In case while you're flying.
Yeah, it's a long flight.
We wouldn't just send another one? What?
I don't know. Now, don't freak out too much, though. Because the bomb being transported in the bomb bay was not nuclear armed.
Okay.
It was capable of, but it wasn't there. The nuclear capsule that contained the fissile material was being stored elsewhere in the aircraft in a container that they dubbed the bird cage, which is kind of funny.
So in the event where they were like, go to Russia now. Someone would then put the capsule in.
They got a couple hours to figure it out.
I mean, truly.
It's a long flight.
I'm just assuming there's one person in the plane.
No, you have a whole crew. So these planes are
big.
Large.
Okay.
They're massive bombers that because you needed a bigger plane to be able to travel that distance and carry the payload.
Yeah.
Because you're most likely not going to be dropping just a single bomb. There's usually strafing runs of bombs, etc.
Sure.
So these are large planes with a fairly decently sized crew. Nothing like. It's not like a whole platoon running. There's a captain, co-pilot, navigator, bomber kind of type person.
Sure.
So that's how many people are in there. I did throw out another vocab word, fissile material. Fissile, F-I-S-S-I-L-E material. It's just a little bonus fact.
Love it.
Fissile material is material that can go through nuclear fission, which is used to fuel thermal neutron reactors, also fast neutron reactors, and in this case, nuclear explosives. So it's the stuff that goes boom. Really big boom.
Thank you. Big boom.
Yeah. Big bada boom. If you ever seen Fifth Element. Making a bunch of references here.
You
today.
really are. Big reference episode.
Yeah, so it's essentially the stuff that you shoot like a slow-moving neutron at, and that's what splits and makes the mushroom cloud.
Right.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, now you know how nuclear bombs work.
Appreciate that.
Now, while I did say don't freak out because this bomb wasn't nuclear ready, it is still technically explosive. It is still packed with a fuck ton of explosives. Right. It's still a bomb.
Right, at the end of the day.
Capital B. So we have this plane taking off at 4:34 p.m. local time from Savannah, Georgia. Now we jump to 5 p.m. local time.
Okay.
The seemingly normal early spring Tuesday evening takes a nosedive.
Boo.
Thanks. I'll be here until you shut the podcast off. So at 5 p.m., a light in the cockpit of the B-47 notifies Captain Earl Kohler something has gone wrong in the bomb bay. A harness locking pin did not engage.
Bum, bum, bum.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Also, like, bomb bay is a very fun, like, it's two words, bomb and then bay.
Right.
And it's just a very fun combination for me. It's like Bombay.
Doesn't remind you of gin?
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of. I couldn't place it where it was like, oh, Bombay.
Yikes.
I
don't drink a lot of gin.
I'm not a gin drinker.
Why?
No. I don't know.
I'm currently in my in an era where I just ordered gin rocks with a splash of olive juice.
Oh, I see. I thought you had like specific gin rocks.
I just go around collecting gin rocks.
Right, where you're just like walking down and it's like, oh, that's a good rock. This would be great for gin.
That's what I used to bet during my games of gin. Yeah.
No, I just never really got into gin. There was a moment where I like drank a gin and tonic or two, and I was like, this is great. And then I tried it again after that like brief stint in gin. I was like, this is terrible.
No.
And I think I just need to like have a good gin drink.
That's the hard part, is that like gin itself, you have to have a good quality gin, or else it just kind of like has a weird taste to it, and it has to stay chilled. That's the hard. Like, I do love a straight up gin martini, absolutely, but the issue is that it will get warm, and then you're just like, I don't like this.
Yeah, I've tried a lot of good gins back in my Bitter Pops days.
Yeah,
there's great flavors. It's just not my vibe.
It's not your jam.
Yeah,
I get it.
Anyway, Bombay.
Thank you.
So we got a light that says shit's going down for Captain Earl Kohler.
Shit's going down.
Now, Captain Bruce Kulka, another member of the crew, is sent to investigate, and he notices that their payload is hanging loose on a single shackle. Payload being this bomb.
Right.
I'm
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My question is, how is this thing being carried? How is it being supported?
So you got the bomb,
Mm-hmm.
and it's supposed to be kind of like clamped into in the bomb bay.
So that it can just unclamp and drop.
Because then the bay doors open, clamps release, bomb drops.
So,
Boom.
thank you.
Yeah.
All the way through.
Have to wait a couple seconds and then boom.
Right. Uh-huh. So he runs back there.
Yeah.
And he's looking.
Yeah.
And he's like, these clamps are askew.
Right.
Okay.
Essentially.
Okay. I'm just trying to like visualize what's happening.
Yeah, a locking pin didn't engage. So like,
Got it.
if there is an issue, the payload could, like, if there's an electrical issue or something like that, it could just drop.
I'm just imagining like bomb, 2 clamps, 1 clamp is just basically done, and the bomb's like, whoa.
That's kind of what it is. Hanging on their fingertips.
Yeah.
So, following his training, Captain Bruce Kolka, attempts to insert a steel pin through the shackle. This would prevent the payload from dropping in case the electrical lock should release.
Sounds great.
Right. However, through some misstep or two, Bruce winds up causing the bomb to unhook.
What?
Making the Mark 6 nuclear bomb fall onto the bomb bay doors.
How do you go, I'm going to secure this. All I have to do is insert this pin, and now it's fallen.
They didn't really specify.
Shocking.
He didn't include that in his report.
He's like, it just kind of happened.
So the force of the fall of this explosive falling down pushed the bomb bay doors open. And the explosive falls out of the plane that was cruising at an altitude of 15,000 feet.
Okay, so I get it.
Yeah.
It's 1958, right? We're not where we are now. Well, a couple of things. One, why is it so high that if it was to drop, the force of that could really damage anything? Secondly, why can the doors be forced open?
I wonder if it's kind of like a safety, ironically, safety where it's like, if we're on a mission, an actual real mission, and our hooks, our latches release, but there's a jam in the bay doors, like the weight of the bomb would still allow.
So that you don't explode the plane.
Yeah, you can still complete your mission.
I get that.
I wonder if it's like a backup thing.
I can see that. But I just feel, okay.
Kind of fucked up here.
I get that. I just also, I'm like,
that's a big guess.
Open the bomb bay doors. If they don't open, don't drop the bomb.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I get it.
I don't know if you know this about me, but I am not trained by the Air Force.
What?
I know. It's weird. They didn't take me.
You did all of that.
Right. They were like, you're too handsome.
I said, sir, too many men would be distracted. Okay.
We can't have another Tom Cruise issue here.
No, how many
playing
people
volleyball.
Trying to play volleyball on the beach?
So yeah, that's my guess.
Got it.
So bomb drops. Falls 15,000 feet.
Yes.
Earl, the guy in the cockpit, heard a rumble, then looked out the cockpit to see a shockwave rush across the ground. The bomb bay doors closed. Bruce was safe inside the plane. He didn't fall out with the bomb, and the mission was aborted. They turned right back to Savannah, Georgia.
I really thought you were going to be like, and they continued on.
Well, they didn't have what they were supposed to deliver. And they were like, well, we fucked up. Let's go. Let's go home.
Let's go home.
It's been a day.
So it fell. You're getting to this. Never mind. Go ahead. Keep going.
What's your question?
No, it fell on land.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm going to read a quote to you.
I'm so ready.
Quote. About 5 seconds after I saw it, the plane, go over, there was an explosion. It blew out the side and the top of the garage just as my boy ran inside with me. The timbers were falling around us. There was a green, foggy haze around us and then a big black cloud of smoke. It lasted about 30 seconds. When it cleared up, I looked at the house. The top was blown in and the side was blown off. I saw the other children on the other side of the house, about 100 yards from where the bomb hit. It sounded like just a big artillery shell or a big conventional bomb. I feel real lucky for me and my family.
That was really good, South Carolina.
Thanks.
You got into it.
Yeah, I felt like I was reading a letter from like a war document. Be like,
Ooh,
my
yeah.
dearest Isabel.
Yeah. That was great.
So that was a quote from Walter Gregg Sr., given to the New York Times shortly after the accident.
That's scary.
Very. Because that bomb that dropped was 2 tons of high explosives plummeting down 15,000 feet, detonating upon impact, leaving a crater 70 feet wide, 35 feet
My
deep.
God.
This thing was meant to fuck shit up.
Yeah.
And it
did. Yeah.
Thank God it didn't have the fissile material inside.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
6 nearby houses and a church were all damaged, including Walter's home and garage. The bomb had detonated about 50 yards from his garage.
Jesus.
Very lucky.
Yes.
Walter Gregg Jr. Recalled the following, quote, I don't know if I'm going to do this one in an accent.
I believe
in
you.
my head.
I believe in you. You got this.
The dirt coming down was tearing up everything. This is a different accent.
Go with it.
Daddy leaned over me to protect me. He was cut all on his back from the debris and everything fallen. He stayed over me, and as we walked out of the garage, I looked up. The pine trees were like a concussion. Limbs were breaking like an ice storm, and all the dirt was coming down.
Oh, shit.
Different accent, but it's fine.
It's
He's
fine.
a junior.
He moved early in his life.
Yeah. Right. After this, they had to move.
He had to.
Of course, after the explosion, ambulances had converged onto the scene to tend to the wounded.
Yeah.
No one died, thankfully. Surprisingly, no one died. There was just a lot of cuts, scrapes, like I described.
Sure.
On the Greggs. Air Force police also arrived to retrieve any bomb debris because the kids were running around collecting shiny pieces of metal. They were like, "This is cool," and I was like, "That's not good.
Stop touching
Don't
the bomb.
touch it." There was also Air Force technicians that arrived on the scene, roped off the area to check for any radioactive contamination.
Yeah.
Because while this, like I said, wasn't nuclear armed, it was still ready to be a nuclear bomb. So
Right.
It could be material. Now, the level of radiation was low enough in the area that a simple washing could clear the area of any radioactive material.
Okay. Sure.
So, just spray it down. Good power washing. And then final decontamination was carried out by the folks of the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission and Los Alamos National Laboratory.
Nice.
They're always involved.
Ugh, we love them.
All this activity was actually monitored by a different B-47 bomber that was surveying the area above and taking pictures of the damage.
Wow.
Very exciting.
Very
Not
exciting.
really at all.
Is the crater still there?
It is. I get into it in a little bit, but it's still there, and there's debate as to how or why, or if rather, it should be preserved.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's really hard to preserve a crater.
But also, why would you want to preserve a crater?
Yeah. Because in 2008, a historical marker was erected nearby with like a brief recount of the accident. But like,
yeah, why are we historically marking a military accident that almost killed an entire town?
Right, because it could have been like a lot worse. Maybe.
Correct.
I don't know.
I feel like we don't celebrate those things. Like that feels very odd. Yeah. Interesting.
Usually, like, you celebrate, I don't know.
Well, and also, like, who's like
something more significant.
Right. Like, it was an accident. Why are we
one of 32?
I'm sure there's other ones out there.
So the Gregg family wound up suing the U.S. Air Force to cover the damages of their home,
Sure.
to buy new things, yada yada. And they received $54,000 a few months after the accident.
Okay.
Now that is $584,818 in today money.
That's a good amount of money.
Right. That's a new life.
Yeah. What's crazy is that the military didn't, or the Air Force didn't try to offer something up already. They were like, let's wait to see what happens.
Yeah, there are some accounts that I didn't put in here, but like of Greg Sr. Commenting, maybe it was Greg Jr., I'm not sure which, but they were like, people came up to us and be like, oh, you're rich now, like you have a whole new life. And they were like, well, we had to ask for it. Like, they weren't going to give us anything. We had to fight for it.
It's crazy.
And like, they were like, that's the shitty part. Like, people look at it and be like, oh, this, like, your life's turned around, this is great news for you. It's like, no. Like, my life is turned upside down.
Right.
My life is blown up. So that's how much money they got. The crew of the original B-47 involved in the accident, the one that dropped the bomb, they were all transferred overseas immediately.
Get them out of here.
And eventually supposedly sent letters of apology to the Gregg family. Like, sorry, feel really bad about it, which I'm sure
they did. I'm sure they did, but also, like, it's they
funny.
weren't held accountable for anything.
Right, of course.
Right.
So since the accident, here's some bright side. The nuclear weapons were now being more securely fastened to U.S. aircrafts.
Thank God.
Making it harder to jettison them, whether it be accidentally or intentionally. Fun.
That's, yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that's what this took for that to happen.
That's what came out of it? Yeah. And finally, like I said, you can visit the site if you're out that way in South Carolina. Like I said, in 2008, there was a historical sign marker that was erected by, I think it was in combination of the town itself, a nearby town, and then also with the Boy Scouts of America, which is funny. There are also fragments of the bomb on display at the Florence County Museum. And then, like I said as well, I'm not sure how recent the debate is of preserving the crater is, but it did exist at one point. So it might still be there if we go see it today. I don't know.
I think it's interesting. I just didn't think you would have to preserve a crater. Like, I feel like that would just kind of like keep.
Yeah. Well, depending on the size, I mean, like, all geographical things will eventually be affected by erosion. Of course.
Yeah.
Wind and rainwater, yada yada. So I wonder if it's more of a just like, let's rope it off to keep people from like crawling around in it.
Oh, I guess
that kind of preservation, like giving it a more formal plaque and whatnot, rather than just like a signpost. Like, let's make it in a tourist attraction kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, I guess I didn't think about the aspect of like keeping it preserved to allow nature to do as it will.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not the case. Like, I feel like they wanted to make it like a thing.
Money.
Yeah. But you never know.
You never
Good
know.
intentions. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Mars Bluff incident. A little crazy quick story for y'all.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny to like read into this and like learn about like, oh, we've categorized these nuclear incidents.
Yeah.
Broken Arrow being like, oh, we've like missed it or lost it or something happened. And because there was others that I don't remember if you touched on during your Project Manhattan episode or not, but it was like, oh, like these scientists, while doing research on nuclear reactions and whatnot, whether it be explosive or for energy use, accidentally like critical massing nuclear material, where there's like, oh, like we're all studying it and then accidentally drop something and it's like, oh, we just got blasted with radiation and like, I'm gonna die in 10 days, you're gonna die in 10 years.
Yeah.
And we all have to like, there's like a drawing of where everyone was standing in the room when that happened to determine like how much radiation everyone got in that room and how fucked you are. And I was like, that's a whole other category of nuclear accidents.
That's wild.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one that luckily resulted with no deaths.
Didn't end that sad.
Yeah.
It's just surprising to be like, well, that's one of 32 that we were officially recognized.
Yeah.
And there have been so many more.
That's crazy. The fact that like the unofficial is in the hundreds,
Right?
but we've only recognized 32 because there's enough accounts of it that they're like, we can't sweep this under the rug. I'm like,
We have to like give you
Crazy.
some of them,
right. Correct. Crazy. Well, thanks for taking us through that.
Yeah, just a quick little quick little story of a U.S. military fuck up on our own land.
We love to see it, you know?
Love to see
That's what we live for.
But yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. And if you haven't followed us on any social medias, you should do that ASAP.
100%.
That means as soon as possible. A lot of acronyms today.
Glad you really spelled that one out for them.
Hey, anytime. But you can do that at WDYK_podcast anywhere on the internet. That's all I got. Thanks, Nick.
Okay, bye.
Bye.